Evening, ladies and gents, how are you doing? Great news today. Finally, they've dragged their heels a little bit, but finally, the sloshing Portaloo himself is up in court. Well, almost. 1 hour ago, it was reported by BBC News, Axel Kanubu denies murdering Southport girls, by Johnny Humphreys and Anna Lindsay. The annoying thing about this story is, we still haven't seen this oxygen thief's face. Not once. If you're a polite middle-aged granny and you've never been in trouble with the law and you post something mean on Facebook, they'll plaster your face all over the telly for 3 days. Is there anybody watching this that hasn't seen what Sam Mellier looks like? No, probably not. In fact, I'm sick of seeing him. The BBC loves talking about that fella. Very strange then, in a case as big as this, we still haven't seen a single picture of the aforementioned walking Portaloo. Not once. Like what, they're worried about upsetting him, have they? It's not really a story that lends itself to me making any jokes. It makes me so angry, but I will cover it in as light-hearted a fashion as I possibly can, because the BBC story, as you'll see shortly, is extremely light on details. You have to go around the bazaars to find things out about this fella, because the BBC's running cover for him. Nobody wants to hurt his fees, and the government is delaying it as much as possible so they can presumably deal with him on a busy news day, and they're hoping that you and the general public will forget that he is indeed a regular at Alan's legendary snack bar. Everybody that said so was right, and thus every single person who's in prison as a result of tweeting about it or typing things up on Facebook. I mean, they shouldn't be in prison anyway, but if the idea is that they were locked up for spreading false reports about him, well, that's full of holes as well, isn't it? They should all be walking the streets. They should be back with their families. So let's read the story. Point out the obvious, that Sharia Kia is basically on his side and not yours, and then discuss what we should do about it. I'll give you a clue what I think you should do about it. I think you should buy a nice expensive lazy boy reclining chair for this fella, make him nice and comfortable on it, and then fire 40 or 50,000 volts through the bastard thing. Right, I'm assuming we are still allowed to make jokes about the fact that 60% of the country supports capital punishment. If I'm not, I'm sure I'll find out shortly. Susan is no longer with us, unfortunately. I outlived one nemesis, but I've got another now, Neil. Neil might have something to say about it, we'll see. Anyway, let's read the story. Axel Kanubu denies the obvious, to the point where it's almost laughable that he'd bother. Mr. Kanubu has denied doing the obvious to 3 young girls, God bless them, damn him to 1,000 hells, in an attack at the Taylor Swift themed dance class. Mr. Kanubu appeared at Liverpool Crown Court via a video link, but refused to speak when asked to confirm his name and enter his pleas. So the limp-wristed soy judge, Justice Goose, entered them on his behalf. In the same way, he also pleaded not guilty to attempting to kill 10 other people, including 8 children. Charges of producing the biological toxin ricin and possessing wacky materials, the likes of which Osama bin Laden was awfully fond of, were also put to him. But again, he did not respond and not guilty pleas were entered. And once again, more photos. They love showing you pictures of everybody but him. I wonder why. The judge said a trial previously set for 20th of January would go ahead and was expected to last up to 4 weeks. Kanubu was 17 at the time of the attack, and he rocked from side to side during the hearing. Oh, bless him. Bless his cotton socks, he rocked a bit. Let him out then, let him out. Give him a job as a lollipop man at the local primary school. He feels remorse, so that's good enough, you know. He's on the victim pyramid, so we'll just let him off. Easy. Save us some money in legal fees. The attacks Mr. Kanubu is accused of carrying out took place in the Heart Space Studio on a small business park in the seaside town, blah, 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 blah. And that's it. That's the entirety of the story. Once again, what's obvious about this is they don't want to dig into his background. I've told you this loads of times. Whenever there's an incident that involves the privileged class or a regular at Alan's snack bar, they focus on minutiae. The stories about the Borough Market attacks or the London Bridge attacks or Manchester Arena. And instead of saying this is his ideology, he expressly committed these acts because he follows this belief system. They'll tell you stuff like, the mother of the child was sat there, she had a nice floral dress on. Little Safi, she liked Doctor Who, and she liked horse riding, and her favourite colour was yellow. But they don't say this horrible, slimy, human toilet moved to the UK illegally, broke in, isn't from there, parents came from somewhere else, God knows where, Timbuktu, didn't try to fit in, doesn't like you, doesn't want to speak your language, and is entirely motivated by a certain theological persuasion that all across the entire Western world has proved to be a massive pain up the arse. Tell us that. Tell us why he did it. Tell us where he comes from. But no, they won't do that, will they? Oh, Mrs. Biggins from down the street was in court and she had a nice handbag. I couldn't give a monkey's fart. Tell me where he come from, tell me why he did it, tell me where I can buy a particularly large wood chipper that we can start sticking the worst type of scum on planet Earth into very, very quickly. It's long past time since we genuinely did have a real serious public chat about the restoration of capital punishment. As far as I'm concerned, if we actually live in a democracy, well, in the UK, you don't live in a democracy, everybody knows that. But if you at least want to carry on the pretense that you do, it's time to have that conversation. Because seriously, if you were to stop 100 people on the street and say, do you think this fella is a perfect case for the reintroduction of an ancient British tradition, which involved a state-funded headsman, or a fella with a hood on, who pushes you through a little hole with a big rope. Surely it's time to have that conversation. And who cares what the pink or lefties have to say about anything? We outnumber them. I honestly think as high as 70% of the general public in the UK would support such a move, and you'd probably get similar numbers from across Europe. So why won't the people in charge talk about it? Ever. Has anybody asked Farage the question? I'd love to know his answer, because I suspect it'll be the exact same as everybody else who wears a suit and sits in Parliament, which will be, yeah, I know it's popular with the public, but who cares what they think? Anyway, I'm rambling. There's a bit more information available from other news websites, so let's have a look there. The Standard covered it in slightly more detail, but obviously we still didn't get a picture of him. They reported that the additional charges related to terrorism specifically relate to a PDF file entitled Military Studies in the Holy War Against the Tyrants, and also the AQ training manual, which he's said to have possessed between August 29th and July 30th. They also pointed out that all of the poison and the documents were found at a house that he shares with his parents, who, yes, we know by now, were originally from Rwanda. Not Rwanda, Yorkshire. No, the other one. The one that's 7,000 miles away and has less than naught to do with you and yours. Yeah, that one. That's where he's from. It's an imported problem. So to sum up, let's just sum up briefly, shall we? All of the major incidents in the UK from the last 10 years, no matter what the British government says about stopping the sharealike, all of them are imported problems. The Manchester Evening News bombing was a result of a bloke from Libya. I even remember the names of these people because I get so angry. I commit them to memory because I don't want to forget. Don't forget the fallen and don't forget the enemy. He was a Libyan. In the Home Office under Philip Rutnam, another one of my eternal foes, they knew his parents were dangerous. And they gave them a council house in Manchester anyway, fed and clothed them for 18 years, and you were rewarded with a hissing backpack at a pop concert, okay? He was a Libyan. Rudu Kanubu is a Rwandan. The industrial scale grooming was a result of predominantly Pakistani men. Borough Market, London Bridge, Lee Rigby, Emily Jones, I believe the killer was Albanian. Almost every major incident is not a result of the fair light, right? It's not Sam Mellier doing anything with a butcher knife. Every major horrific attack involving wanton butchery from certainly the last 20 years that I can think of was committed due to the importation of dangerous people, often unvetted, and often, in the case of the Libyan, vetted. They knew that his parents were fleeing the Gaddafi regime because they were actual naked terrorists, and they gave them a council house anyway. Obviously, it's presuming that if we just give them free food and clothes for 20 years, they'll be nice to us. Yeah, of course they will. Like a battered wife who goes back to Dave for the 8th time, despite the fact she's been poked more than a second-hand dartboard. It's lunacy. And this is what I'm telling you. It's by design. It's not lunacy. No, that's incorrect. It's malice. Philip Rutnam, the Home Office staff, all of our civil servants, the activists, lawyers and judges and politicians, they know the risk is high and they don't care. They import them on purpose. Tony Blair and Peter Mandelson said so themselves. They did it on purpose to rub the right nose in diversity. They know there's a risk to you and your children, and they do it anyway because they're in thrall to a toxic ideology. And you know what? They're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep doing it. And it doesn't matter how many Taylor Swift dance classes get stabbed up, or Emily Joneses get their heads lopped off, or little Safis get scattered across the walls at the Manchester Evening News Arena. They're going to keep doing it. They don't care what you think. They don't care about your wives, and they don't care about your children. So to sum up, you're in the shit, lads. You're in the shit. That's all I can tell you. Until the normies wake up and kick off and are so openly vociferous out on the streets every day, demanding action by the scum that runs the nest of vipers that we call the Houses of Parliament and the House of Lords. Until that happens and Joe Public wakes up and actually cares about their own children more than they do about what's on the telly or broadband internet connections, nothing's going to change. So unfortunately, all you can do is keep doing what I tell you. Stockpile whatever legal weaponry you can, stockpile food and provisions, and try and keep your sense of humour, a stiff upper lip in adversity. Because as I keep saying, this gets 10 times worse before it gets better. Alright, that's all I've got for you today. Please let me know what you think in the comments. If you think I'm being far too harsh and Mr. Rudu Kanubu should do 200 hours community service and then get a free holiday in a static caravan at Flamingo Land, please let me know so I can point at you and laugh. Alright, thanks for tuning in. See you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.